Tausif.
Tosif, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining, brother. Love you for the support.
Okay, Joy, I think we can move on.
Yes, let's start.
Hi, Vinod, how are you? We have not seen you as yet.
I think he's a shy person.
That's all right. Okay, sorry. There you go. Hello, Vinod. Nice to see you.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
See you.
Good evening.
Okay. Joy, I think we're good to go.
Thank you, everyone, so much for jumping in on a Saturday late afternoon on this webinar. It's a pleasure for Nahid and I to be doing this introductory Clarity Talks webinar where we intend to share what our synergy of mindset and communication is. And going forward, we'd be bringing out podcasts as well as workshops. So feel free to ask us as we present this synopsis along the way. Any questions that you have, pop it into the chat box. We have already received a set of questions that we are taking up at the end of this section as a Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer specific questions that you have towards the end of this session. So Nahid, over to you.
Thank you, Joy. Welcome, everyone. I extend my hearty, my warm welcome to everybody. And understanding why we are doing this, what was the reason why Joy and we collaborated to do this, is something that I would like to start with. All right. And the best way to introduce that would be to say this, because this is exactly what happened when Joy and I got speaking. And it was just a friendly conversation wherein we were just talking about certain things which were going on with our life, and some things which Joy was unable to understand. And it was there where I said, or he said, I don't remember that exactly, but it was something to do with, I don't understand what's going on in here.
Yep.
And that's where the entire journey began. Because then he signed up and he went through the sessions, and then he did understand what was going on in here. And the more he understood, the more his communication became clear. So that's where the entire idea of Clarity Talks came out, because it was like, he used to say this, that when I speak, when we have these sessions, I have so much of clarity. I have so much of clarity. And I told him that Clarity Talks, because what you're putting out now on your social media is just amazing. And I said, Clarity Talks. And that's where it was, because he was getting inquiries, he was getting clients. And it's like, something has changed in the way I've been putting out, I've been communicating with my target audience. And that is because he had the clarity here, so he could understand better what was the need of the audience. So moving on from there, this is something, he got his answer to what is clarity. But now I would like to ask the other members on this forum out here today, what do you understand when we say the word clarity? And I would request all of you to please, whatever it is, to not keep it within you, do not hold it back, do not try to analyze whether it's right or wrong, because everything is just an opinion. So just give your opinion of what do you understand when we say clarity. Kindly put it in your chat box. Simple steps, rounding off everything. Very good, Vipin. Clear message to convey. Very good. What is communicated is equal to what is understood. Very well. Clear understanding. Easy to understand message. Very good. Clear understanding of a matter. Fabulous. Anybody else? Put yourself in your audience shoes and see if your message is well received. Very good. Very good. Thank you, everyone, for being sporty enough to give these answers. Now, before we move on, I would like to do a very small, minute exercise out here. Just quickly tell me what comes to your mind when I say the word apple. Just type in your answers, please.
Sorry, Nahid, can you please repeat the question?
What comes to your mind when I say the word apple? The brand, very good. Cell phone, iPhone, fabulous. Fruit, brand, fruit, red, very good, Vipin.
I think Vipin is hungry.
Health, yes, of course. Fabulous. See, this all answers that you're giving. Yeah, fruit for me as I just had food. Okay, Havas, that's good to know. I hope it was healthy. These answers that you've just written out here, are any of those wrong? All of them are right, right? Because all of them were how you perceived the word that I said apple. So I communicated the word very, very clearly, and you communicated your understanding very, very clearly, right? But in all of this communication, what I meant by saying the word apple, because when I said the word apple, I had in my head an image of a green apple. Okay? And I'm your customer. And so somebody offered me an iPhone, somebody offered me the brand, the Apple MacBook, somebody offered me a red apple, somebody offered me some advice on health. But I saw a green apple. This is how we all perceive when we hear, when we listen. And this is how our audience also does when they hear, when they listen. So when we say clarity, yes, it is very important in how you're communicating, what you're communicating. But before you move there, that's the second phase. The first phase is to have clarity about how are you thinking? How are you thinking? Because what you are thinking, not necessarily your audience is thinking the same way. And it is in the simplest of words, in the simplest of communication, where we have disconnectivity. So just taking you from here, I'd like you to introduce, like all of you, to be introduced to what is Clarity Talks.
Mindset. It's all about how do we change our mindset. We've all read a bit, learned a bit, done a lot. But let me tell you, the real proof of the pudding comes when you feel it yourself. What Nahid has helped me do is bring me what clarity really means. And working with her, learning about mindset, learning about one's own mind, created the idea of collaborating together for all you folks. And I rope Nahid into helping me to share the mesmerizingness that she has in strengthening your mind, helping you change your mind, helping you understand your mind. With Nahid, I have the pleasure in bringing to you Clarity Talks.
It's a pleasure to do this with you. And it's been an absolute delight to see the transitions. It's amazing, the clarity which you have now in your thoughts and in your communication. Oops. I'm sorry about that.
Yourself. What Nahid has helped me do is bring me what risingness that she has in strengthening your mind.
Sorry about that. I'll put my cursor away. It's a pleasure to do this with you, and it's been an absolute delight to see the transitions. It's amazing the clarity which you have now in your thoughts and in your communication, just by working on changing the way you think, just by working on doing a simple bit of tweaking inside your subconscious mind. And this is what I call the synergy of mindset and communication. And that, I think, should become the foundation of what we take forward from here.
The synergy of mindset and communication. In sum, what we communicate, and we all communicate. Communication is our most important element in our personal branding and our work to get our message across. What we sometimes forget is that we are communicating what our mind is telling us to communicate. If you are not in control, if you don't understand what your mind is doing, the words, the behavior, and the communication that you do could miss the target you're setting out to do. Beauty of this synergy of mindset, which communicates out. You, as the recipient, when you strengthen your mind, it helps you change your mind. It helps you figure out exactly the right decisions you need to make. And you communicate.
The kind of topics that we're going to speak about and the kind of clarity that we're going to bring to people, I'm sure that they're going to find the difference even just by listening to these podcasts. So yeah, looking forward.
Join Nahid and I on Clarity Talks. Feel free to follow us across LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to know who you are, what your mind thinks you are, get on to Clarity Talks.
That's Clarity Talks for you. This is what the endeavor is all about. And I would request Joy to please enlighten us more on this.
Absolutely. Where we're trying to take this is to help each one of us. I've been a recipient. I mean, I reached out to Nahid, as you saw on the video. I wanted to scale, I wanted to grow my business, and I realized that I've reached a point where something wasn't quite hitting the mark. And what I mean by something wasn't quite hitting the mark was I was communicating, I was prospecting, I was attracting clients, but somehow or the other, it was not the ideal clients. It wasn't the kind of work in marketing that I was looking for. And working with Nahid has literally shifted the needle totally. I mean, it's gone 180 degrees, and I'm actually receiving direct feedback from clients. And let me translate this into how it works in our business world, both individually from our personal self. My communication within my family has improved tremendously with spouse, children, everybody. It's improved drastically by getting appreciation from my current clients who've been with me over a year saying, you're speaking different. This is how the feedback comes. And it's gone better in terms of my outreach, the marketing outreach that I do on my work. So, Nahid, can I have the next slide, please? So this is what we'd like to bring. Clarity Talks helps individually, professionally, in your career and in your business. So why is it important? We've clubbed this under the umbrella of business. The first, most critical one, understand market behavior. And I touched upon this as we started. There are a lot of things that are unspoken today. Please understand that we are in a scenario, never, 100 years ago it happened. 100 years ago, where we were in business and commercial world was very different from where we are today. We're at the tail end emerging out of a pandemic which has affected every single one of us psychologically, emotionally, physically, commercially, in some degree or the other. And that has created a total sea change in consumer behavior, which translates to purchasing behavior. It's translated into individual behavior in terms of what's priority and what it matters more. Now, these, whether you're an employed individual, you're a professional running a business, or you're a CEO running a business, this is clubbed under market behavior, and you will not have somebody tell you, I've changed. Nobody says that. So if you go back and think back with your clients and your contacts and everybody, you will perceive a change in their behavior, but you will not hear the exact words. And this is what unspoken market behavior is all about. It's important to pick up this cue. How do you pick up this cue? Is part of having clarity of your own thoughts, because then you're able to communicate. Apple is actually a green apple. So those who are in the business of fruit health via green apple will be the ones connecting to you, not the entire universe of I like apple, red or green doesn't matter. That universe will be there, but your core niche is those who are interested in the green and its proprietary benefits. I'm just linking the analogies out here. The second, and I'm going to pass this to Nahid in the second point, but I learned this going through the program. Sometimes we don't realize it, but we are always judging, starting with ourselves. And one of the key ways of pulling back from that starts with listening. Nahid, I'm going to hand this over to you and come back on the third point.
Certainly. When we say listening, and I've always emphasized on understanding the difference between listening and hearing. People still confuse themselves. They still judge listening as, you have to lean in, you have to be present, you have to listen to the words, the emotions. But it goes beyond that. Because when you listen, the clarity comes because when you listen with your eyes, when you listen with your ears, when you listen with your heart, and when you listen with your head. And this cannot be separate. This has to come together. This has to work simultaneously. This has to be when you're listening to somebody, you are also seeing the words that the person is saying. You're also feeling the emotions from where it is coming from. And you are also analyzing what is making that person think or say the way he or she is speaking. And this is not something, today when I say it like this, it looks like, oh my God, that's so much, that's just so difficult to do all of this together. But you don't have to do it consciously. When your subconscious knows how to do this, knows how to listen with the eyes, with the ears, with the heart and the head, and it will. There's just one small neural network which needs to be connected with the pattern that you have right now. And the moment it is done, you can listen much more clearly. You would have listened, I said an apple. You would have come back and asked, what kind of an apple? Are you talking about a fruit? Are you talking about the apple brand? If I would have said fruit, okay, which kind of apple? Are you talking about a green apple, red apple? Are you talking about any specific brand? Are you talking about any specific size? We go more. And when that person says, okay, I would have said a green apple. All right, fabulous. That's a fantastic choice. Could you tell me? And then when you are asking me those questions, look at me. Look at my body language. Look at how I'm saying it. If I am saying it with a lot of excitement, probably I've got something new coming up, a new venture that I'm looking at, or something that I'm planning to make with those apples, maybe pie. A good, happy moment. Or maybe there's somebody who's sick in my family, and then that green apple needs to go out as a remedy or as a cure or as an alternative medicine. And that time you will not see me excited. And then at that moment, how you are speaking with me will make me connect with you. And that's where, when you suspend your judgments, clarity helps you connect. And that is why listening is so important. Clarity and connection, we will take it later. Now I'd like Joy to emphasize what happens when you connect, what happens on the third point. Joy, you're muted.
My apologies. Didn't realize I was muted. When you listen with your senses and your mind is already aligned with your heart, two things happen. First, there's a bit of your empathy that's already playing. Note what Nahid said. When you're talking with your customer, you're talking to the other person, you are projecting that same why does that person need that apple for what purpose. So that's the first thing that happens, which is part of your heart coming in, and your head guides you with that clarity to exactly precisely what your other person you're communicating to needs. And this is the connect that happens with customers. Now, from a company perspective, from a business perspective, please realize as a brand owner, as the brand custodian, you have two customers. Customer number one is your internal employees, and they're very, very, very important. When you carry them with you, when you bring them on board with you, they become your advocates. And there's a separate acronym, and we shared that in a different webinar. But that set of customers, when they're aligned, they understand the clarity with which your business is running, the purpose for which your business is running. Making money is one part of it, but there's a bigger purpose. It goes out, it starts radiating and rippling out towards your external clients. That same listening that your team does helps to hone in on exactly the precise need that your client is saying or actually not saying. Because remember, point number one, there's an unspoken behavior. But through that listening with your eyes, ears, heart, and head and mind, you're able to take what is the necessity your customer is communicating, and it creates a bond. Because what that bond happens is when you serve, that customer actually says, wow, he or she got it. She understood me clearly. I'm going to do business with him. It adds very, very strongly to the business reputation, to the goodwill that you create in terms of the whole entire service. So these are the 3 points, 3 highlights as to why and what clarity does in your business. Next, please, Naeem. Mind, your area.
I would actually take it from where you left, Joy. Joy spoke about how your internal customers, when they have clarity, they can connect with your external customers. I'd just like to give you a small example out here. When you are speaking to somebody, a customer of yours, and when you can actually match the way your customer is, and here, when I say matching, matching is something which is hugely applied in sales, hugely applied as a marketing behavior. What is matching? Matching is not just being in the other person's shoes. No, that's not matching. Matching is becoming a mirror for that person. All right. So if that person has got droop shoulders, probably, as I said, maybe the apple was needed as an alternative cure for somebody in the house. And at that time, if your voice tone drops down 2 notches and matches with the person's emotional state of mind, you create a subconscious connect with the person's subconscious mind. This is absolutely done effortlessly without you actually having to think to do it. All right. But normally what happens is our mind is so focused that I have to get this customer. For me, business is important. For me, getting the close, my targets, my profits. We are on that wavelength, we miss that connect with our customer because we cannot mirror, because we are not present. So coming from there, my question, does your mind drive you, or do you drive your mind? Because believe you me, when I say this, driving your mind, absolutely effortless behavior. You can go back to Joy, you can ask him, he's gone through this. He was driven by his mind. And today when that mind comes out and says that, Joy, you need to worry, he can say that, okay, you need to be quiet because I am doing what I'm doing. I don't need to worry. So that is the reason why he can have that clarity of understanding what the customer needs and wants. Because when you are inside your head and being controlled by what your mind is throwing at you as thoughts, as emotions, as behavior, as feelings, you cannot You cannot listen with your heart to your customer. You are only listening with your ears and your eyes. But the heart goes missing, the head goes missing, because inside your head, you are having different thoughts and pictures which are running. You are not 100% with your customer. So just think, all of you, just reflect on this question. Do you drive your mind? Are you able to control which thoughts my mind will have at what time? Because that is something which is very easily in your hand, but we usually give away this power by, I can't stop those negative thoughts from coming to me. Let me tell you, you can, and it is like this. And then people from early birds have already gone through that when you could do that, remember? So just reflect on this question, because if you are still being driven by your mind, then somewhere that clarity is based on your perceptions and not on what is actually in front of you. So what happens when you understand your mind? What benefits will you get when you understand your mind? And what benefits? I will leave you here with 3 benefits, because those 3 benefits can actually make a huge change in the way you're connecting, in the way you're communicating, and in the way you are going out there to your customer. And those 3 benefits are clarity, connectivity, and creativity. When you are clear in your mind, that is when you can connect. And when you can connect is that time when you can create. You can create the solutions that your customer wants, taking from your own existing products and services, but being able to create the way in how to present it to the customer, in how to put it to the customer. That can only happen when there is a connectivity and there is a clarity. Joy, would you like to add something out here?
I wanted to just add the word, though it's not with C. When you have that connection in your head, you are driving your mind and you get that clarity. That connectivity actually brings out unimaginable resourcefulness. I mean, personally, having gone through the program, worked with Naheed, it is amazing me today, even now, every day I have this amazement. Where do I get these ideas of marrying my product offerings, my servicing, and everything out there in the market? And yeah, it's under creativity, but I put it under pure and simple resourcefulness of an individual. And this is, I have to say, it's God given, which we are born with it. It's just a question of being able to tap into it and to find out. That's all I can add to that at this point in time. It's a fantastic find.
Thank you, Joy. So moving from here, I'll stop here, and I would like to now put you here on the forum and ask all of you, what have you taken from whatever discussions we've had till now, and what more would you like to get from us here on this forum? Before we move on to the questions which we have already been submitted, I would like to put it out here. Go live. Let's ask. Let's interact. Let's communicate. Let's connect. Anybody?
I have a question. This is Akshansh.
Yeah, hi.
Just have a question. Now, many times it happens that the client is always asking question or giving idea that okay, he wants to buy something or he wants this, but they never give a clarity about money, how much they want to spend. They're like, yeah, we have an open budget. You give us a quote. We have open. Now, when the client is not giving us a clarity, how to make sure that how to get a clarity that, okay, what to show him or what to give him?
Joy, I think you'll be the right person to answer this question.
I'll have to go back to a few slides and go back to the second point on the clarity in business, which is when you are talking to your client. So even in today's pandemic world, get into a Zoom call and observe very, very carefully what is the body language of the client. Now, To observe that, you've got to get trained in understanding what are the nuances to pick up. That's number one. Number two is ask the question with clear intent. Sir, we'd love to know what's your budget, because we are going to be able to craft something for 100,000 as well as for 1 million. So knowing what is it that what is the amount that you're comfortable would help us to give you a couple of proposals that way. That's where I'll come from. The second part, or the last part of this, is it doesn't come overnight to know. The normal businesses, clients don't like to divulge money because they think that they're going to play their hand and you're going to charge them that whole 100,000, right? So when you are serving in the proposal, don't give more than two choices. Personally, I do more than two choices for only one reason. Too many choices confuse us. So it's like, just imagine you're looking at an online shopping, and sorry, as a guy, I'm taking a guy reference. Shoes, we want to buy shoes. If you have a brown, black, a tan, probably you're done. But then you're going to look for a gray, and then you start getting all these choices, your mind gets confused. Bring it home. Go to your client. He's giving you a budget of 100,000. Give him your optimal that your service can fully deliver and actually, gladify him is what I call. Really, really please him. Give him that well within that 100,000. And then give him something which is just a wee bit more, 110,000, 108,000, 112,000, and specify what exactly is that 8, 10, 12,000 extra for, and leave him with that choice. You want him to buy your 100,000, which you can deliver very well. He will negotiate on that. Be ready to give him a discount, whatever discount, 2%, 5% that you all are comfortable. You land up. That's the best way at this point in time to take it through. Have a call, ask clearly. If you still don't get it, submit it in. Go ahead.
My question was that only, that the initial stage when we are discussing with the client, or there is no clarity that what is the price I should quote, that I should at least come down in the conversation. Now what happens, I'm into LED business, okay, LED display board business.
Okay.
Now today somebody tell me that, Aks, I want this pixel, and this is my this is what I'm looking for. Okay, now I can give a pixel pitch of better. I give him the pixel pitch what he requires. Okay, now he doesn't even come back to me that, oh, this is too high. Okay, now my product is, yes, high quality product. Okay, one of the best products is a German brand product. I have pitched them each and everything on that. Okay, now tomorrow he comes down and says, he doesn't even, I want to follow up with him, and he doesn't want to even reply me in terms of saying that, okay, your product is very expensive. No, okay. There I get stuck that, okay, is this the buyer for me, or is it a buyer who's looking for a Chinese brand which can get busted out in 1 day's time, or a half an hour's time? Okay,
Aks, I'm just gonna add this. Otherwise, we'll digress totally off. When we can happy to have an online 30-minute chat with you, not a problem. But here's the issue. There's two parts to this. Part two is about clarity of the individual, your client, as well as yourself, and that communication. That's part two. But part one actually goes back to your overall business brand and its perception, because right now what I'm hearing, the comparison of your brand is happening on a price point. That's a commodity evaluation. It's like getting potatoes from the market. All potatoes are the same. Why do I need to put the russet potato or the Holland potato? Why do I need to pay a premium? So I would actually focus on level one, which is that perception of the brand, how to change it, how to adapt and give it a different perception, parallelly with how to bring this communication clarity. And happy to have a chat. Just reach out. You can connect with me, reach out to Nahid, and you can get us. I'm happy to have a 30-minute discussion to help you on how to pitch your brand out in terms of creating that perception. No issues, right?
Okay.
Happy to do that. I think Nahid, Sumesh has just put in a question or something there.
Yes. So Sumesh says that I understand that assumptions are contrary to clarity. Very true. How do you avoid making assumptions, especially when you are in discussion where people want a quick solution?
May I just take a bash at this, Nahid, before you bring in the subject matter? The first thing is the answers in that, Sumesh. You've answered your own question. When you are in a discussion and you feel people want a quick solution, that itself is an assumption. So I would go in to say, literally, are you looking for a solution to this right now? If the answer is yes, give them a list and clarify to say, here's what I'm basing it on. So these are assumptions. I would need to check these out to ratify validity. The other way is when you bring it out that way, that are you asking, when you ask them a question, what are you asking, or are you asking for a solution right now? Majority of the people, I don't have a percentage and I can dip into research and give you, but majority of the people would say, when can you come back to us? We are, remember something, mentioned this in this particular slide which is showing. One of the things in our behavior is that while we are putting priority on what matters to us, we are still into this immediate gratification. This plays out in a business discussion, in an interpersonal discussion very heavily. We are always looking for a solution right now because that's what we are tuned to. So my version of this, and Nahid, please correct me also, I would always ask the question, are you looking for a solution to this right now? If yes, here are a couple of options which I would need to validate. And I would definitely say this, you would be received very well and you would be asked how much time would you need to validate and submit it in. That's all.
Very well said, Joy. In fact, Sumesh, Joy has given a very valid point here, which I have missed out till now. And that is, even when we are talking about judgments, how do we stop making judgments? How do we understand market behavior? You know, what has happened with all of us is that he said about the gratification, and that's exactly what it is. And beyond that gratification is another behavioral change which we all have gone through in this pandemic. And that behavioral change is based on insecurity. So when we have insecurity about losing that client is when we want to immediately give a solution and not ask questions. When I spoke about the apple in the very beginning, I was a client who said, I want an apple. And somebody gave me an iPhone, somebody gave me a brand. But the fact is, the first and most important thing to not have assumptions is to come and ask questions. And it is so, so important for us to ask questions, because whether you want to, whether you don't want to, we all have a program thinking pattern. All of us, we cannot escape that, because that's how the mind works. We have a subconscious mind, which we didn't get birth with our thinking capacities full on in absolute, most prominent mode. No, in fact, this was not there. The conscious mind was not there. Up to the age of 7, we were walking on that subconscious mind. And up to the age of 7, the subconscious mind made us, and every single individual on this planet goes through the same thing. Up to the age of 7, we are all walking in a complete 24/7 hypnotic state. So whatever we are told, whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we observe, the mind keeps storing it. It keeps storing it, and that is from where our perceptions, our judgments, our biases, our assumptions take birth. And as we keep going through school, through a college, through our first job, through the people, through the environment, the society, the place that we are in, the city that we live in, the things that we are exposed to, we keep transforming. We do keep transforming, but the underlying judgments, the underlying behavior, the underlying program stays the same. There are few updates which happen to the program. There are few changes which happen to the program. But the fact is, none of us go back and ask, what makes me think like this? What makes me believe in this? What makes me follow this? And hence, we are so prone to making assumptions and judgments, because that's how every single human being is. So when you are talking about understanding assumptions, first thing you need to understand, before you understand the client's assumptions, understand your own assumptions. From where is your thought process coming? What is your foundation on which you are making those judgments, those biases, those assumptions? Because if you don't have that clarity about how your mind thinks, you can never have the clarity on how the other person's mind thinks. Because when you start to understand your mind, you will understand, oh, okay, so if this is the way mind works, then this is how the other person's mind is also working. And that's where the judgments and the assumptions subside. Have I answered your question, Sumesh? Have we answered your question, Joy and I both?
Yeah, I think you two complemented each other's responses pretty well. What I understand from Joy is that the first and the foremost thing is, in case you get into such kind of situations, the first thing is list down the assumptions. Once you start listing down the assumptions, you are not only cross-checking with the other person, and you are also understanding as to what are the things that you are missing out on that you don't know. And Nahid complemented it pretty well, talking about the subconscious mind, which has to be controlled there in making these assumptions. So in a matter what to do and how to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
very well.
Sumesh, it goes back to this. If you understand self in an overall picture, you understand yourself, you understand, you're able to read your biases, i.e. your assumptions in your program, you are automatically seeing a mirror of what is coming to you. So when you take that first list, here's what you're listing as, are these facts, are these assumptions, and you list it down, you are playing it back to your recipient, your client, your other person, with that to say, are you assuming? If so, based on what? So fact and non-fact then becomes clear. And what I'm finding doing this is, I'm getting a lot of, I'll use the word respect. The clients, the people I'm interacting with are saying, hang on a second here, you're making sense. Let's talk a little bit more. And then walk me through your thinking. So, the discussion becomes richer, if I may use that word, and it helps. So the first thing is, understand yourself, how your program works. A very simple analogy. Windows operating system has gone to Windows 10. It's going to come out to don't know Windows what. But Windows is Windows. The operating system, what Nahid said, we've gone through that base operating system since birth. Now all we can do is recognize where the bugs were. Once you recognize where the bugs were, you can do something about it. You don't, you divert yourself from those bugs. Therefore, your interaction, your behavior, the quality of your communication, inclusive of body language and leadership, becomes far stronger, far, robust, if I may use that word. That's all I'll add to this. Nahid, I think we'll move into the Q&As which are left, because that'll help the audience, and we are also running high on time at the moment.
Sure. Yeah, so you'd like to put the questions, Joy?
Yeah, I'm gonna articulate the questions that we didn't get time to put them into the thing. So here's Nahid, you'll have to take the first couple, and I'll take the next one. The first one is, perhaps this will help Sumesh, especially as we were talking with you just now. How does clarity establish connectivity? This is the first one that's come in.
And I will like to go back to the example that I had started the session with about the apple. And that's exactly what I was talking about, because when you have that clarity, in your own mind, and you understand, okay, so for example, sometimes we may not be in the best of our mind. Sometimes we may not feel the best. Sometimes, and I'm not talking about, of how I see myself, no, but, mentally, we may feel a little lethargic. We may feel a little slow. We may feel a little tired. We may feel a little drained. And when we are in that mind frame, how we are communicating with the client is completely different than how we are in a very positive mind frame or a very energetic mind frame. When I have that clarity that these are the things which trigger me to change my mindset, and I have the clarity that if I use these triggers, I can move into a mindset where I am much more clear about what I am feeling, that is when I can have a connectivity with my client. Because when I stand there in front of my client, I am supposed to be a mirror to the client. And if I am not able to understand what's going on in my head, and I'm inside. I am not external. I cannot look. I am seeing, but I'm not looking because I am thinking something else in my mind. So what the client is saying, because coming down to understanding how the mind works, we all communicate in two ways. And the mind, we use five senses, but we communicate in two ways. And the mind works in just plain and simple two ways. It's about the words that we speak and the pictures that we see. So when you are speaking, there is a movie which is running on in your head. Whether you are consciously aware about it or you're not consciously aware about it, doesn't matter. But this is how the mind works. We see it inside our head. So when we are speaking to our client, even the client is seeing pictures. So when I have clarity about this, and I am listening to the cue words of my client who says that, no, I can't see this helping me much, then I understand that I need to show him better pictures.
Yep.
That's how that clarity bridges that gap of connectivity and strengthens that connectivity that you have with your client.
Which automatically flows into the second question that has come into us, is that how does clarity impact our understanding of marketing behavior? Now, we've already explained this. I mean, honestly, when you understand the words, draw a picture for your client, you are very clear in your thinking, what is it that I need to communicate? You're understanding what is the client telling me, what is the other person communicating to me, because those words coming in are also drawing a picture in your head, so the impact of that connectivity, that clarity, creating that connectivity, then ripples out, goes out from you with the right selection of words, with the right selection of stimuli to create that picture in your client's head. Now, from a marketing perspective, from a communication perspective, we can drop this down into content marketing and active words and right sound tones, and a whole lot of scientific rationale is there. But in a nutshell, it impacts our understanding of who our client is, what they are saying. And what I mean by what they are saying is not what you're hearing being articulated, but what they are actually really requiring. So this, our clarity in our mind, helps to impact the behavior we communicate out for the picture we want them to have. Perception, influence. These are the two keywords. The words you choose create a perception, the visual in their head, which therefore influences their, and I'll use this word loosely, assumption. If you guys are with me so far on this one. So clarity, the more you have about your own mind and you drive your own mind, it creates a connection of the right words, the right stimuli, the right visual that you use, which when it's in a professional setting or an interpersonal setting, you are cognizant of what is the other person saying. You're using all your senses in your head and your heart to understand and choose the right words. Now, please don't misunderstand me here. It's not only saying the good things or things that you feel is going to resonate with that client. You are actually saying something that the client's or the recipient's mind wants to be fulfilled. And it doesn't happen overnight. I'm still working with Nahid. I'm still learning. But I can tell you that the more you understand your mind and the more you do it subconsciously, it happens. It's an operating system that runs. You find it coming out of you naturally, and it impacts your body language, impacts your behavior. So, for example, if there are a couple of people on this group who've seen me present and talk on webinars 3 months back, 4 months back, and I can tell you they'll find a vast difference. If you go back to my YouTube channel and look at my videos of 4-5 months ago and you look at them now, you'll find it, while just viewing them after this discussion, vastly different. All right. So moving on, third question. Third question. Nahid, what's the association between clarity and creativity?
Very interesting. I will give you a very small example out here, which is based on how we have something called a meta model of communication. All right, and how that meta model actually disrupts our imagination. Now, as we are speaking here, when I say the word, The map of Dubai, just the map of Dubai. We have a visual imagination of that map, of that image, of that picture. Maybe it's a satellite map because we've just been looking at Google Maps all the time while we're traveling. Or maybe it is a hybrid map, or maybe it is the traffic map, or maybe it is another map, or maybe it is a map from the Atlas or the world maps. It doesn't matter. We all have our own perceptions. We all have our own understanding. We have our own visualizations. But in that map, now if I say that, certain areas like in Jumeirah, which are the 5 key areas that you'd like to put on that map, that won't be the same for everyone. That will be different. Because according to the meta model, we all operate very simply on 3 things: deletion, distortion, and generalization. That's how communication happens. When somebody is speaking to us, there is a filter, there is an automatic filter which is there, which deletes that which according to our perception is not important. And it takes in, like when you tell me, Jumeirah, I will give you those 5 places which are according to me very good, but someone else may not have the same view as mine. So here I delete the clarity on what is being asked. So here my creativity is impacted very, very quickly because I am creating, I'm visualizing based on my assumptions. I don't have that clarity of what is needed. Then comes distortions. Jumeirah is a huge area. Which area? I am going to be probably speaking to you from JBR to maybe up to La Mer, but is in the middle of that, there's more spaces which falls under Jumeirah. I've distorted that map to put it inside my head. For me, it is just that stretch of the sea. So for me, I have distorted so that I can create an image in my head to give you an answer. And then generalization, which we all do, which we have to club together and put in certain places so that our mind can remember things. So we generalize our favorite places. That's a generalization which we do. And that is how creativity is influenced by what is going on inside our mind.
Brilliant. I've always loved this association. It's a revelation. So I can't still help loving that simplicity that comes through, that how important it is to be clear and have that clarity in order for our own creativity to come forth. Thank you, Naheed.
You just need to be clear on 3 things. What are you deleting? What are you distorting? And what are you generalizing? As simple as that. And you can get that clarity absolutely bang on.
I'm going to move on quickly. I know we are just running on to an hour and there's still about 4 questions left, but I'm going to take top 3, which I think will help our audience here. Next one. How do I know I am choosing the right words to communicate? So Naheed, before you take this on, I'm going to give the communication side a little bit. In communication, we have something in content called active words, passive words, stimuli words, and there's equal visuals also. So once you understand language and you find out the construct of those words, you can actually play around with your script, whether it's video, whether it's a text, ad, or post, to create the right words to communicate. Now, having said that, that's the easy part. That's the easy part. You can actually find good writers and all to do that for you. The hard part is knowing your client, knowing your target audience, and this is where it becomes very important to have that self-clarity of who am I talking to and what am I offering, what do they need. And I'm going to hold it there because it'll go into a different topic area. But Naheed, how do I choose the right words from NLP's area?
Just become aware of what are the words that you usually use. What are your generic words? And you will get that when you just take a pen and paper and start writing it down. Because there will be certain words that you are using regularly. All right. It's not important to know that, okay, is this the right word or the wrong word? Because there is no right or wrong. But
Correct.
It is important to know that what makes me speak these words? What makes me speak this language? All right. I work with a lot of young professionals. So my words that I use are usually very basic, and it's not very technical because they don't like it. They like simple, plain words, which they can understand. But when I am sitting down with maybe a CEO or an MD, at that time, my words are very, very technical because that's what the person is looking for. That's what the person is wanting. So when I have an understanding, okay, this is how I am, I generally tend to prefer to use very simple words. I don't like to use jargons. But when I am in this audience, I need to use those jargons. So I become consciously aware that, okay, I need to consciously, instead of using a simple word, I need to use something which is pleasing to my audience, which is something which my audience usually speaks in. So again, I'll go back to listening. When you listen who your audience is and how they are talking, you will be able to, first thing, use the right words. Second thing, when those words are judgmental or when those words are based on assumptions, you lose your audience. Any word which is judgmental, which is speaking about putting that person in a place where the person starts judging, is where you lose that connectivity. So becoming very conscious about the words that, the non-judgmental words, and the non-judgmental words, in fact, you know what, anything else, anybody saying anything, all you need to say, it's that's right. The moment you say that's right, you've given a validation to the person that you accept whatever that person's saying. Acceptance does not mean that you own it. Acceptance means I accept what you're saying and I have listened to you. That's very important because that gives that person the validation that the person is being listened, heard, and understood.
I'm not going to add. I wanted to add this, but so I think I was saying I'm not going to add it, but I'll add it. Those two words are magic words. They have a peculiar magic that works in the mind. And try it out. I mean, just after this session, you're talking to somebody, spouse, friend, whoever, and they offer an opinion, an assumption, a view, a perspective. Just simply say that's right and leave it there and see what happens. That you'll find a change in tone in the very next sentence itself. It's a great. That's why I use the word mesmerizing when I said describing the work Naheed does. Moving on. The last question, Naheed, this time, and I think we're gonna wrap this up here and leave it with some benefits. How does my thoughts impact what I say? And I found this, where I'm coming from on this question that we received. What we think actually impacts what we say. So please do share how thoughts impact what we say.
I have already spoken about this a lot during the webinar, but I'll again just come back to the same, thing that when, say, for example, when I am in a place where I'm a bit insecure or worried or thinking about maybe something which is, very top priority, which is there for me to do, my words will certainly be coming from that place. But when I know that, okay, this is priority, fine. Once I'm done with this, I'll look at that. But for now, I need to be present in this place. Then my words are very different. Then the words that I speak are completely for here and now. So I don't want to put too much of emphasis on this because I've already explained this earlier. So this is as simple as I would like to keep it here.
Great. So I'm going to stop the questions there because there's another list of 4 and 5, but I think for the audience and for this purpose, this is fine. Before we go on to the benefits and some tips that we are leaving with you, we'd really request you'd like to know more, join us in our community. There's a link on the chat right at the top, and I'll repost the link. It's a private group on Telegram, which will share with you updates on our podcasts, our posts, our webinars, and our workshops we're going to be having going forward. Naheed, the benefit tips.
Yep. So we just like to leave you with 3 tips on how to change the way you think, because I know when somebody says you need to change your way of thinking, and a lot of people give us this advice, you need to change the way you think, but nobody tells us how. So I'd like to give you 3 tips. Number 1, and the most important one, no matter what thoughts it is negative or positive, again, you're being judgmental here because a thought is a thought. There is no negative thought. There is no positive thought. It is just a thought. So just acknowledge it that, okay, I acknowledge I just had a thought. It's not negative. It's not positive. It is just a thought. The moment you acknowledge it, it stops whatever it was doing. If it was putting you in any kind of, it was giving you any kind of feelings, any kind of emotions, anything that it was doing to you, it will stop. Because the moment why do we have thoughts? That's a subconscious trying to bring something to our notice. It's the subconscious trying to communicate with us, bring something out for us to look at. Most of the times it's bad memories or negative thoughts, because that's how it has been programmed. That's a longer discussion for a different period, but just to give you an understanding, because that's how it is programmed. So the moment you have any kind of thought, that is to get your attention. And when you keep on having it recurring, that's because you've not given it attention. Usually what happens when we have a negative thought, we want to avoid it. The more you try to push something away, the more it will become more prominent and more strong. That is how the mind works. So as simple as that, you want to change your thinking, whatever thought comes to you, acknowledge it. Acknowledge it. Okay, I've had this thought. There you immediately change the way you've been thinking, because that the pressure of that thought goes down and you can now concentrate on what it is that you would like to think. The second one, what makes you think that way? Say, for example, if it persists, if it has been there, and if it comes every day to you, to your mind, then stop. Give that thought your attention and just ask this question to yourself. What makes me think this way? What makes me think about this? What is the reason why it's coming to you? Because your mind needs you to acknowledge it. That is why it is bringing to you again and again and again. So just give it your acknowledgement and give it your understanding. Just ask this question, what makes me think this way? And then the next one, and the most important one, what makes me stop from thinking in some other way or exploring another avenue in which I can take my thought patterns? What makes me stop from thinking that there can be a good ending? What makes me stop from thinking that I can make it successful? This deal can be successful, or this person can understand me. What makes me stop? Because we don't know this, but all of our thoughts are based on certain beliefs. And these beliefs, more than 70% are not yours. You have a lot of borrowed beliefs which are there in your subconscious. It can be from your parents, it can be from your friends, from your family, from the society, traditions, religion, culture, whatever you want to call it. But the fact is, most of those beliefs, and here when I say beliefs, even about yourself, which you have, are not your own. So when you are thinking certain things about yourself, ask this question, what makes me think this way? What are the beliefs which is making me think this way? What are the beliefs which is stopping me from doing it another way? If the belief is that I'll fail, what makes me think I'll fail? Have I ever tried it before? Have I ever done it before? If not, then what makes me think I'll fail? Somebody tried it and failed. Well, that somebody and you are two different individuals. How can you take this belief that what happened to the other can happen the same way to you? So just want to leave you with these three things. When especially in business, we have this thing, we stop ourselves from exploring because, oh no, this is how that person did it and he failed, this business failed, that person failed. But you know what? Your creativity is your creativity. Did that person have the same creativity as you? Maybe the same product, but creativity is another thing. So what are those beliefs which stop you? I'd like to stop there.
Thank you so much, Naheed. I hope these three tips will help you, and join us, follow us, write into us. We are happy to take on and discuss individually if required. You can always reach us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And our YouTube channel is coming up. And the Telegram private group is where you'll get all the updates. And, we are having a community there, which is forming, and you can interact with each other. Thank you for being a great audience from our end over here, two respective places. please do share your feedback and questions, and anything that we can help you with where mindset and communication is concerned in business, in life. Thank you.
Everyone. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, you can certainly post it to us. You have my email IDs at least. I can send Joy's email ID to anybody who's interested to connect with Joy, because believe me, he's a genius when it comes to marketing. He's been doing this for what, Joy? More than 20, 25 years, 30 years?
My employed career was 33 years. And my business career is very nice, which is what I'm enjoying. It's just 3 years and 4 months old. And the best part is I'm enjoying the last 4 months more than I enjoyed the previous 3 years. So yeah, anybody, you have to reach me, just reach me on LinkedIn. I sort of tend to live on LinkedIn a little bit. Just drop me a line. Feel free to connect or reach through Nahid through Clarity Talks. And any help, always available to give a lending hand. So I posted the Telegram group link in the chat. Feel free to join us. It's also a good way to keep in touch simply.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Before I forget, we have a workshop which is coming up on the 24th of April. 24th of April at 12 o'clock Dubai UAE time, which is on listening, clarity of listening. So that's going to be
great. So if you can book your times in, and as we put out the things, you can register 24th. That slipped my mind. Working on so many of the workshops and everything together. So clarity and listening. That's right. It's Saturday 24th. That's right. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And okay, bye-bye, everybody.